Okay, we'll move on to the public comment period. I'll start with our standard statement. This is a meeting of the La Center School District Board of Directors. It is being held in public, but it is not a meeting of the public. To speak during the meeting, contact Tammy at the district office prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting to be added to the list of speakers. We have almost 30 speakers tonight, 28. So we are going to need to limit it to a minute again. Again, we have other business that needs to get done, and we appreciate people bringing their comments. The audience, as you know, I address everybody every month. Be respectful to the speakers. But this month, that stands as my normal. But I want to address the speakers tonight. Last month, there was a lot of speakers that, there were people trying to address each other and instead of just staying on a topic. Please refrain from personal attacks. Don't put words into someone else's mouth or speak to as though you know someone else's thoughts better than they know their own. Be respectful in what you say. Again, don't attack people. Don't bring in negativity. If you want to congratulate somebody, support somebody, have something positive, bring a solution of some kind. If you've met with people with views different than your own and you have, collaborated with a suggestion and a path forward, we'd love to hear that. That's what solutions look like. Bring those types of things. We'd be happy to hear them. That being said, I'll let you say whatever you want. We have never wavered from that, and we're not going to. But ask yourself before you speak, are you, bringing an attack on someone, or are you offering some kind of, meaningful dialogue and a path forward? That's all I would ask you to ask yourself before you speak. And with that, I will start with the list. Speaker number 1 is Gail Woles.
My name is Gail Woles, and I am a resident of La Center. Just this year, there have been over 540 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in state legislatures, and half of those are targeting trans and non-gender conforming individuals. You might say that doesn't apply here, right now, in our little burg of La Center, but the incredible negativity and the effect on our LGBT community, and especially in our youth, is palpable. As a minority group, our LGBTQ plus students and allies feel like their concerns are not being heard, and so the noise level must get louder and louder. It's beyond a David and Goliath scenario. It's more like Minnie Mouse fighting King Kong. Until they feel truly heard and their concerns taken seriously, the noise and controversy won't be quieted.
Time. Ms. Ingrid Manson.
Good evening, board. My name is Eunice Ingrid Manson. My pronouns are she, her. I'm your neighbor in Battleground. I agree with you that the student's education is optimized when the school, students, and the parents collaborate. But gender and sexuality are not a disease or misbehavior that need to be reported to the parents. Rather, it is such important personal information that the students themselves should share it with their families rather than being outed against their will by someone else. Please let them tell their stories when they're ready. And know that the students long to tell their stories to safe and supportive parents. And please be prepared to give both the students and their parents the needed support when invited. Thank you.
Emily Hancock.
According to the state, a school board's role is to demonstrate a commitment to equitable public education, basing policies on what is best for students while aligning with current laws and research. In light of Policy 3211P, I was disgusted to uncover the plethora of anti-trans and anti-teacher tweets that Wynn Muffet has liked on Twitter, which equate queer people and allied teachers with groomers and pedophiles, referring to the existence of trans people as the, quote, trans contagion, and encouraging prayer to be put back in school. Your administrators for a public school, not a private school, not a Christian school, a public school. The policies you adopt should be based on the state law, not religious doctrine or personal political agendas. This school administration is failing both students and teachers, fear-mongering and stoking the flames of bigotry in our town. The truth is that while you vilify teachers, it's you who are putting vulnerable students in danger. Mr. Muffet, you encouraged us to recall you if we disagree with you, and that is the one thing I agree with you about.
I did bring copies, and I would like these in the minutes, please. Thank you. There are people we think we can trust and keep our kids safe, but sometimes those trusted people are dangerous. We just don't know until it's too late. Research done by San Francisco State University's Family Acceptance Project empirically confirms what common sense would imply to be true. Highly religious parents are significantly more likely than their less religious counterparts to reject their children for being gay. A finding that social service workers believe goes a long way toward explaining why LGBT people make up roughly 5% of the youth population overall, but an estimated 40% of the homeless youth population. You see, Mr. Muffet, sometimes kids are telling the truth, and sometimes parents are dangerous. Thank you.
Shannon Clark.
That's scary. Okay. This board has played politics for far too long. I remind you that you are public servants for a public school system. Whether voluntary or not, you took an oath. Here is my suggestion. You are to serve in the best interest of the student, no matter their race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity, but that hasn't happened. Instead, you have been running the system in a way that supports your own personal and religious vendettas. Pete, you stated in your second goal for the center schools that you want, and I quote, to develop confident and self-reliant lifelong learners who can thrive in a rapidly changing, more technically advanced and diverse society. Diverse society. You might want to look into what a diverse society really looks like.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm a parent at the La Center School District. Today I stand before you to address two interconnected matters: the importance of allowing teachers to ask for pronouns and the misconception that learning about pronouns makes kids question their identity. Firstly, enabling teachers to ask for pronouns instead of forcing students to out themselves is crucial for fostering inclusivity and protecting students' well-being. It respects their privacy, allowing them to disclose their gender identities on their own terms. By creating a safe and respectful environment, we ensure that students feel valued and accepted, free from the fear of discrimination or judgment. Secondly, learning about pronouns does not make children question their own identities. In fact, it promotes understanding and empathy. Teaching children about gender diversity at an early age helps them develop a sense of respect for others and cultivates an inclusive mindset. It allows cisgender children to embrace their own identities confidently while acknowledging and celebrating the diversity of gender experiences. Thank you for your open-mindedness.
Thank you. Sage Roach.
Good evening. My name is Sage Delgado Rose and I am 21 years old. I'm a proud graduate from La Center High School and Portland State University with degrees in psychology and social sciences. Today I work towards earning my master's degree in social work. This has provided me with a deep understanding of the importance of inclusivity, something that Gender Inclusive Schools Policy 3211P actively attacks. During my time at La Center, I contributed to the Select Ensemble Vocal Group. I lettered in soccer for 4 years, softball for 3, basketball for 2, and wrestling for 1. I was and continue to be an active member of this community, and I am transgender. When I attended La Center, I wasn't open about my identity due to fear of prejudice. Unfortunately, during my freshman year, I was involuntarily outed as gay, and it only heightened my anxieties. I didn't have the opportunity to choose how to share my identity. This experience left me fearful to go to school and dread the possibility of reaching my parents. While I'm fortunate to have a family that ended up being supportive, many others don't and will never have that privilege. This policy would isolate our queer youth, erode their safe places, and potentially expose them to unsafe situations at home. Today I bring letters from esteemed professionals. I urge you to read them carefully and revisit the dangerous gender inclusive.
Josh Sosky.
Good evening. I'm Josh Sosky, and I live in the La Center School District. I have 3 children who have graduated from the school district. Tonight, I want to thank our teachers. In my experience, our teachers are one of the keys to our youth success. Our children had favorites. They also had challenges. It's our hope that every student in La Center has a teacher that they consider a favorite, that they can trust, that help them develop the passion of a lifetime. I think each of us has felt something about one of the teachers in our career that made a difference in our lives. Tonight, I want to share my daughter and I's conversation from this weekend. When she, from the class of 2014, mentioned, "I know my favorite teacher." Out of respect for you, Wynn, I'll say, I think she was pretty good too. That's Sharon Bryant. Thank you. I also invite you all to the La Center United meeting on June 8th.
Thanks, Josh. Joni Hancock.
As a longtime teacher at La Center Elementary School, I am saddened to see the polarization that is happening in this district, harming teachers, students, and the reputation of this community. This polarization is caused not by demonic possession or dark souls, but a difference in values. One way to repair such division would be for school administration to seek unity under the value of supporting educators, especially when those educators are being accused of sexually grooming children, all because they support their queer students. The administration knows these allegations of abuse are false, or they would be letting teachers go. So why aren't you standing in our defense, assuring parents that our district is full of honorable, dedicated, hardworking teachers? You know we have great teachers. You consistently thank us for what we do. Yet instead of alleviating parents' concerns about this matter, you are letting the disinformation flow and increase the divide. You are feeding into the division, letting your teachers be attacked and slandered. Instead, why are you not creating opportunities for people to have true conversations so that real communication can happen, rather than sound bites that accomplish nothing? I would like to take a few minutes.
Hello. So I wanted to pinpoint, I went to this little last meeting here with the 3211 policy. And I was curious about, so what happens when a child reports that they're not being treated fairly either by administration, teachers, or by students? And when I was in school, it was a real problem, and I didn't finish school for this very reason. Eventually got my GED, but it was just horrendous. High school was awful. And, well, all school was awful, for me personally. So I'm very happy to say that I got a hold of Lori Landerholm. She's the principal at the middle school, and I was specifically looking at what the compliance officer was, what that was mentioned in 3211. that so much of what all the raw language, so on and so forth, and then it looked like.
Time.
Okay, went on.
Thank you. Kate Houston. Kate. Andrea Lewis.
Students deserve to be informed and aware of their rights and protections. Teachers should be allowed to talk in the classroom about Policy 3211 as part of students' rights and protections, just like they discuss those under Title IX. If a student wants to confide in a teacher just to voice aloud to a supportive sounding board, perhaps for the very first time that they're considering exploring their gender identity, teachers should treat it like a student told them they're thinking about getting a new haircut. No action at all needs to be taken. Now, if a student formally requests a teacher to use different pronouns, then teachers should update the gradebook accordingly. No secondary informing like calling home should be necessary. Proactive parents that are monitoring Skyward are going to see the change. They're welcome to call a teacher and ask about any kind of change to the gradebook, including pronouns. Successful schools are designed for students to take control of their destiny, safely explore ideas and who they are, and ultimately decide who they want to be. We need to give them the space to do that. I also would like to say it was Kathy Bounds that inspired me to earn my degree in political science and social studies education. I can't tell you how appalling it was to hear that the superintendent accosted her in the hallway during the school day. Thank you.
Ron Stephen.
Good evening. Multiple studies show that 80 to 95% of trans-identified kids will change their mind before adulthood if they're simply allowed to go through puberty. This one fact alone is reason enough that children should never be transed. Many European countries have recently stopped or restricted gender treatments on children, and pediatric gender doctors are speaking out, saying things like this about puberty blockers. We were wrong. They're not as reversible as we always thought, and they have longer-term effects on kids' growth and development, including making them sterile and quite a number of things affecting their bone growth. In 2011, before this madness really took off, about 0.3% of the population identified as transgender. That's fewer than 5 kids in the entire district. When 43% of those claiming to be trans or non-binary in the US are between the ages of 13 and 24, when Gen Z kids identify as LGBT+, actually it's 6 times the rate of their Gen X parents, when friend groups all decide to transition together, you know this is not organic. This is an agenda being pushed on kids.
Time.
And the superintendent on board.
Justine Stimmen.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justine Stimmel, and I'm a mother to 3 children in the Lewis Center schools. I put in a public records request, and I learned more about the findings of the Level 2 appeal of the civil rights complaint and the Level 2 complaint response hearing back in January. I learned that there are 17 teachers and staff members that dropped their names off the complaint before it was sent up to OSPI for review. Good. Likely because the complaint had no merit. Currently, there are 14 names on the complaint from the original 31. I must give credit and thank those that dropped their names. Obviously, the investigation report and findings from the board concluded that there's no violations. For this, in opposition of the policy, for all the people here in opposition of it, please understand you still get to say your pronouns if you want. The new policy 3211P represents all students. I would like to thank the board and Pete and all the parents for making this policy inclusive to all students.
Time.
I hope we can attend these meetings
Time.
without confrontation.
Odelia Zuckerman.
Hi, my name is Odelia Zuckerman, and I work in YWCA Clark County's Violence Prevention Program. My pronouns are she, her, hers. This means that when people talk about me, they might say something like she's going to be at the school board meeting. That is what pronouns are, words that substitute for other nouns. Words like it and they are also pronouns. I'm saying this to simply lay out the fact that everyone uses pronouns. To say that providing gender-affirming activities and asking students for their pronouns causes gender confusion is misinformed and problematic. One person being non-binary or trans and using they/them pronouns will not make another person trans. Same as one person being gay will not inherently make their friend gay. I'm bisexual. Did this make any any of you feel confused about your sexuality, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I think policy 3211, gender inclusive schools, is discriminatory by nature. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Lori Schott, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'd like to speak to you about safety for students of Bliss Center. I earnestly believe that all parents and the school want our kids to be safe and to feel safe. In an ideal world, the kids we are raising know they are loved and can come directly to parents or guardians when they're dealing with something. But I also know that there are many, many reasons that a child may not go to their parent. I want to know more than anything that the young people I love will also have other safe adults to turn to if and when they need support. No young person should ever run away because they feel isolated or because they felt like they didn't have someone safe to talk with. If that happens, we have all failed our kids. The school's procedure 3211P, as it is written now, has some extremely problematic language that does not promote such key development supports for kids. I am asking and imploring of you all that the school board reevaluate, and I will send this in. Thank you.
Gary Wilson.
The following speaks in support of your pronoun policy. There are 3 Washington RCWs that apply to schools about protecting students from discrimination, including on the basis of gender. RCW 28A 642-020 and 080 specifically state they are to eliminate, quote, discrimination in Washington public schools. The 3rd RCW 28A 600-477 states, and I quote, harassment, intimidation, or bullying means any intentional, electronic, written, verbal, or physical act. Now, mandatory reporting does include the parents if the school suspects the parents are abusing the child. In order to suspect, you have to have some proof. But some are saying potentially dangerous family situations are reasons to withhold information to parents. Again, the specific word used in the previous RCW was any intentional acts of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. There's nothing in these RCWs that denies a parent's right to information due to unsubstantiated threats of danger.
Thank you. Randy Schmidt.
So I just want to commend you on the position that the board has taken to inform parents when their children are facing challenging decisions with respect to their identity. With Senate Bill 599 now in law in Washington, it is more important than ever for parents to be informed when their children are facing these challenges. The Senate legislature, in passing this bill, in essence assumes that parents are a threat to their children and drives a wedge to the family unnecessarily. I do not believe that parents are a threat to their children. I believe the truth is completely opposite of that. I believe that there's no greater love for a child on this planet than what their parent has for them, and we want to foster that if possible. So I would exhort this board to remain strong against the voices you are hearing, the loud dissent, and the cacophony that is to come, and keep the policy in place, and keep to help struggling children, and also to keep families strong in the center.
Haley Paisley.
Hi, my name is Haley. I'm non-binary and I use they, them pronouns. I work at the YWCA Clark County and I work with families. I'm here to just argue that allowing teachers and other staff to ask students what pronouns they use or how they'd like to be referred to isn't going to solve the fact that we live in an increasingly violent and transphobic world, but that it would make the lives of trans youth just a little bit easier. It would give students one place where they don't have to be afraid for their safety, where they don't have to fight for their right to be respected. And every child deserves that, deserves to feel safe at school, because being a kid is hard enough as it is. Policy 3211 puts the burden on LGBTQ youth, trans youth to protect themselves when in reality it isn't their job to do so. It is the job of everyone in this room, of this community, of this school board, of educators and adults everywhere to protect the most vulnerable and at-risk kids in our community. I urge you to think about how you might feel if this policy is the reason that a kid in your community contemplates suicide, and I urge you to repeal this policy.
My name is Dawn Land, and I came to thank you for setting reasonable, truth-based policies at La Center School District. Those who push transgender ideologies often tell anyone who points out their fallacies that we should be kind. Well, it isn't kind to lie to people. When kids are involved, teaching the lies of transgender ideology isn't just unkind, it's abusive and cruel. Gender really is a social construct. That means it's completely fictional. All children should be taught the real facts of sex, which is binary and unchangeable, over the fictional social contagion that is trans ideology. Studies show that between 80 and 95% of children will accept the sex they were born if allowed to go through normal puberty without interference. Studies also show that suicide is 19 times more likely after transition. Setting curriculum and policies based on truth reduces students' risk of depression. Thank you.
Christine Burgess.
I'm a mother of 4 children. 2 have graduated from the center, and I cry when I get nervous. I have 2 other ones that attend now. I support Mr. Rosenkrantz and the board and their decision to notify parents of a child's change in pronouns. Thank you for trusting parents, that they know what is best for their children and keeping families at the forefront of your choices. Thank you for not making across-the-board decisions for all families that could be harmful. And thank you for setting things in place for those children that may be part of a smaller group, but does not facilitate a rule that takes away all parents' rights. It takes courage to stand up for what is right when you have a group that is so loud. From what I can tell, they may be loud, but they're very few. Maybe not tonight, because I think most parents are at home putting their kids to bed.
Time. Thank you.
Jordan Tolbert.
Good evening. I come to you as a godparent of 3 of your students. Today I stand before you to advocate for an inclusive, supportive educational environment for all of our students. In recent years, we have witnessed a growing awareness of understanding of gender diversity, and it's crucial that our schools reflect this progress. Using student pronouns is not just about respecting individual identities, it's about fostering a sense of belonging and acceptance. When we honor each student's preferred pronouns, we send a powerful message that their experiences and identities matter. By doing so, we create a safe space where students can flourish, free from fear and discrimination. In conclusion, I pray that you, esteemed members of the school board, take this momentous step forward. Let us commit to creating an environment where all students feel seen, valued, and accepted for who they are. Together we can shape a future that celebrates the uniqueness of every individual and builds a foundation of compassion and understanding. Thank you.
Beth Landry.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for letting me come to speak this evening. I am coming to you as the Vice President of Domestic Violence Programs with YWCA Clark County, an agency serving the entire county, including La Center. I urge you to consider some information. I'd like to share with you some statistics from the Trevor Project 2022 National Survey. Please know that suicide attempts decreased by 10% when LGBTQ youth receive high levels of support from their family members. Please know that LGBTQ youth who live in a community that is accepting of LGBTQ people reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide compared to those who do not. Please take those into consideration. If this school board is committed to creating a safe educational experience and is committed to supporting the families and the young people of this committee, I believe
Time.
that
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Buffy Sparger, and I'm a resident of La Center. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for you, Pete, and everybody on this board. America was founded on Judeo-Christian values, whether you like it that or not. It's a fact. The Founding Fathers' definition of, and Jefferson's letter in 1802 regarding separation of church and state is not protecting the government from the church. It is protecting the church from the government. Public schools are the government. So I'm going to say real quick here, off topic here, what I read is, I'm concerned for you, Wynn, and I'm going to say some prayers for you because you've got people looking in your personal life and your social media, and you're in my thoughts and prayers. Second of all, what I'm hearing, and I read this policy, there is nothing excluding LGBTQ plus kids, nothing at all. Basically, at the bottom line, this is about not telling the family, because as people over here are saying, families are dangerous and ready to put their kids in the turnip cellar down below. Ridiculous. Thank you.
Bill will pass, and he was the last one. So that concludes the public comment period. We will move on to part 2, the consent agenda. And I believe there was one item, Pete, you want to hold off? If you name the item.
Further review of the middle school.
Okay. And then with that, if there are no other changes, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
A motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. 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 All those opposed? Okay. Moving on, we've done linkage. Part 4, assurance of organizational performance, and we have business and finance this month. Pete, will you please start with the report?
That's easy.